All right, guys, I think we're back live here. I'm checking everything, and it looks like we're live. Let me know how the audio is out there. I think I fixed the feedback problem. We're going to find out in a second when I hit the music. Just audio. I don't know what that means. All right, guys, just checking a couple things and I'll get to work. All right, guys, if you're out there watching, let me know if this is too loud, too soft. It's hard to tell from here. All right, that's working. That's working. And everything else is working. All right, this one has no lyrics yet. It says there's no vocals. Thank you, Mark, for giving me that feedback. That's pretty important. Hopefully my voice is loud enough. I don't have a camera hooked up in here right now because I've been working on streaming from the living room. Everything's out there. But thought this would be a pretty cool way to do my work so people can tell me I'm doing it wrong. I'm looking forward to it. They're like, why the hell did you do that? Because that's all I know. All right. I have to go through a bunch of different songs here. I've got probably four songs ready for lyrics. I'm calling this one Butt Hurt Generation, but that's not really the name of it. It's just so I can tell them from each other. I'm going to open up another one. I have to change out some plugins that I no longer have. Close this. I'm also producing my own live stream, so I'm hitting all kinds of buttons. And the next time I do this, I might have a little camera set up so you can see me, and it's not hard to do. I just didn't feel like setting it up because I had a long day. I am using X18, and as you can see, it's got a lot of cool settings that you can set. And I was having some problems, and I thought it might have been my input-output in here, because it's really bizarre how they want you to route all this stuff using these dots. So it's this wasn't the problem, but I spent a lot of time in here trying to figure it out. The problem was actually in OBS, and what I had to do was, in order to get this to stream without feedback, in OBS I had... see if I can show you. In OBS, I had, instead of having my mic aux input set, I was using my main input. I think I can show you. If you go to audio, you can set your main monitoring device here. What I did not have set was my mic auxiliary audio, and I had to set that to my mixer, but it seems to be working correctly now. And so I'm going to move on to the next song and replace some plugins that are old. Since I wrote these, I have new plugins. So let's see if we can open song 2. Calling this one Double Bagger. I just make up silly names so I can tell one song from another, but these songs don't have names, lyrics, or vocals yet. And you can see all the plugins right here that are out of date, which is quite a few. The most important one is going to be, if there is drums in this one, it'd be the drums. I don't see it. Let's see what we got. But the rest are pretty easy to replace. Thank you, Mr. Mark Cleveland Massengale from the Massengale Mansion in the middle of a great remodel. A beautiful home he has. Now the whole 2 viewers I have know about it. All right. Let's see what we got going on in here. Is there any drums? Let's get rid of these vocals. These are the old vocals, which I'm not going to use. So I'm going to move those right into a folder and get them out of the way. They're already in a folder, so I just have to rename it Old Vocals. Then I can move it out the way, like so. There's another one. Oh, these all belong in there. That's Kelly in the background getting ready to go to bed. She's up late. This is late for her. Oh, maybe I didn't have a folder. What is this thing? Did I rename a vocal track? Oh, looks like a folder. All right. Looks like everything's in there. Okay, we're good. All right, looks like we need to replace addictive drums because this is the one and I now have the two. So I'm going to go to Synth Rack View. It looks like it is the new drum, so they should work actually. Let's see what this thing sounds like. Brace yourselves. Some slide. Not crazy about the rim shot. A little better. Something between that and this I'm looking for. Too many snares to choose from. Can never go wrong with the Tamistar Classics. That's the kit that I used to have in the garage. We got a little taste of reverb on it. Bring it down a little bit. Blends in a little bit better now. All right, let's see what else we got that's not working. Obviously, this is going to be a country song, but like I said, no lyrics. I'm writing all new lyrics and going to record new vocals for everything. And we have an instrument folder and a drum folder. Do we have a drum folder? I don't think I do. Let's make a drum folder. I like to be organized. MIDI drums. I do have a MIDI drums folder, so it is in the folder. I didn't see that. There it is right there. Oops. So we can get those out the way. All right. And next is acoustic guitar. That plugin is missing, as you can see. I have new stuff, so that was an EQ. So let's get rid of it. Oops. And insert a new EQ, and then we'll play with it. what do we got here? All right, we got 2 tracks, so this is going to be, looks like the left side, or the right side. Looks like I got them kind of backwards. We'll just flip them around. And then we'll pan them the way they're supposed to be. Well, I gotta close this. Acoustic guitar right. I like to have the left on top of the right. Make sure it's panned correctly. And I'll set a balance once I get going. So we're going to check both of these at the same time and get a mix going. Oh, wrong button. And sometimes I can get a nice little effect by nudging one of the tracks a little bit to the right. You'll hear the difference. Sometimes it sounds great, sometimes it sounds terrible. I'm liking that. All right, time to move to the bass and see what's working. All right, let's minimize guitar tracks. There and there. Let's work on this bass a bit. See what we got. Probably an old plug-in. We got to get rid of that. And the same with that. That was a compressor. So we've got a compressor and an EQ. I don't think we're going to need the EQ, but we'll see. We'll see what it sounds like. Real bass. But we can make it sound a lot better than that. Here's an interesting thing that most people aren't doing. I use a Co-Edit Pro as an external wave editor to do some of the work that I do. And it works really well. It loads it in, you do your edits, and then save it back again. I was going to remove any noise, but it's a pretty solid track. It looks clean, so I'm just going to leave it alone. And the next thing I'm going to do is replace the effects that I had to take out. Let me get rid of this guy. All right, so we're going to add, I always just put a compressor on my bass. A little preset in here I use, it usually works pretty well. Oops, wrong button. Oops, hit the mic. All right, and I'm also going to use something to fatten it up a little bit even more. I like the bass in my songs, man. I'm a bass heavy guy. All right, let's go for the boost. You'll hear the difference. That's with the boost on. That's with the boost off. It just makes it fat. And cuts through the music a little bit more. See what we got. We might have to lower it. All right, I'm happy with that. All right, let's work on this lead guitar, which I think is a slide guitar that I did. And it has a little bit of reverb on it, looks like. Not much else. Sometimes you can make it sound pretty nice using the old BBE Sonic Maximizer. I still use that sometimes. All right, let's see what this thing sounds like. All right, most of the noise you're hearing is my fan in the mic I'm using because it's hot in here. I've been working all day and the computer is pumping out like a heater. All right, let's see. Let's make sure we're not peaking right here. We're good. All right, let's see what it sounds like together. Obviously, I'm not a slide player, so it's not real complicated. But there is something that you can do to a track like this, even though it's not a vocal track, to make it sound a little bit more accurate. You can try to use like a region effect like Melodyne. And kind of do an auto tune on it so that everything's landing on a real note. And if it doesn't sound good, you just put it right back. Sometimes it helps pull everything together. Now where it says polyphonic right here, we want to go to melodic. So we're going to change the algorithm. Let me pop this out. So we can see what we're doing. Even though it's one thing, we'll have a better view, I think, if we go melodic. That way you can see all the notes. All right, and let me bring this in so we can see more of it. And that's pretty much the whole track right there. A different color on this, I can hardly see it. All right, what I'm going to do is just select everything. And I might have already done this, but we'll double check it. I can actually do everything at one time. Get out the way. And just bring everything to the center. You'll see a few things move as I do that. Here's before. And it's taking notes that were a little bit off and just tuning them to a real note. Even tells you in the notes on the left side over here that's actually being played. And we'll listen to it. If we don't like it, we can undo it. It should make a slight improvement. Keeps all the flavor, all the vibrato, all the timing, and just kind of changes the notepads. I'm not sure I like it panned to the left though. Not bad, not bad. Now at some point I'll have to listen to the whole track and see if it hear a little bit of stuff that's off there, so I'm just going to undo that for now. And if I hear anything bad later, I'll hit it note for note, note by note, I should say. But I don't like what it did at the end here. Took away some of the feeling, but we put it back in. All right, I think we're good with this track. Let me save it. And we'll open the next one. This one's called Flopping in the Breeze. That's not the actual title. I just make up silly names to tell one from another until I figure out what I'm going to name it. All right, looks like we're missing Rapture and compressor on the lead vocal, which we don't care about. But the Rapture might be important. I do believe I have a Rapture working, but it's hard to remember what you did with Rapture, if anything. Do I have anything here? It looks like I never even used Rapture. From the best I can tell, there's no MIDI track in here for it, so I don't have to worry about that either. But it's in here somewhere in the synth rack, in the plugins. But we don't need it, so we can get rid of it. We got Addictive Drums 1, so we're going to have to change that to 2, so we'll just get rid of 1. And we'll get rid of the track here. If I do it the other way, it deletes the other MIDI track as well. So we only want to take it out manually. And we'll put in Addictive Drums 2. You'll see it show up in the synth rack right here once I put it in. Once it loads in, I have to direct the drum track to it. So we're going to move this to the MIDI drums folder. And that will put it up here. And now we're going to direct this MIDI track to play through it by directing the output right to Addictive Drums and give it a listen. Let's see what drum set's on here. It's probably Fairfax. It's defaulted to. So I'll probably change that, but let's give it a listen first. I don't even remember what this song sounds like, to be honest with you. We'll find out in a second. Could be anything. Get ready. Tried to warn you, all these songs are going to be different. This is modeled after I don't know if you remember a Primus song called Jerry Was a Race Car Driver, but I didn't want to obviously copy their song, but that's where the neat little bass idea came from. But this is going to be a lot different than that song by the time I get done. It looks like I have 2 guitar tracks. One's probably clean, one's probably distorted, and a bass track. So the first thing we're going to work on is the drums and see if we can get them to sound a little bit more metal, I guess you'd say. Like the kick, but not the snare, so we can change that. I like that a lot better. definitely the Tama brass wins for now. Little reverb on there too. I've got reverbs in here, but I like to use the reverb in here. Excuse me. Working on the bass next. I like the drums. Of course, there's cymbals to be added yet. This is backbone stuff. I think there's a couple of crashes in there, here and there, maybe on the transitions. Let's see. Now I gotta put some crashes in there eventually. But for now, let's minimize the drums. Work on the bass. All right, what do we got here? What's obsolete? That's still active. That's still active. And I think I did this one this morning, so it should be good. Let's hear it. This was one of the more fun bass tracks I played in my lifetime, I gotta say. Happy with the bass, but I need an instrument folder. So we're going to put it into one. This is just a way to get things out of your way when you're working on other things. So far the bass is the only thing in there. These guitar parts are recorded clean, and then I can use Guitar Rig 5 to, pick out any friggin' tone you can think of in here, or you can build your own stack if you want to. But there's all kinds of presets in here, so I'll show you the difference between what I recorded and the track effect that I put on it with Guitar Rig 5. I also have a standalone version of Guitar Rig 5 on my desktop somewhere in this mess. There it is right there, that I actually can open up separate. When I'm recording my tracks, I can hear the sound, but it only records to clean. And it sounds like this without the effect. And then when you add guitar rig onto it, it sounds like this. Or whichever patch that you decide to use. All right, the same thing with the other track. These sound fine the way they are. And it's also I don't think I need this other track here. I'm pretty sure I can delete this. We'll find out. Yeah, it was just an extra track. All right, so we've got these two guitar tracks that need to go into the instruments folder. And this one actually might be ready for vocals and lyrics. Okay, there's the other one. There it is. All right, that puts everything into folders, and you can see how nice that is when you're done. You can just get stuff out of the way and work on just your drums or your instruments. And by the time I'm done, it would be a vocal folder also. Keep the old vocals for reference, but that's not what we're going to use. All right, so this one can be saved. I'm going to open it up for the next time I come in. Everything shows, except we don't need that. And I think I have one more to work on before I call it a day. Oopsie. Meant to close the file, not the program, but it'll open up in a second. Can't tell who's watching, if anybody, but if you have any questions, I can see that. It tells me here. Looks like it's just me. I'm so lonely, so lonely. All right, let's open this up. Nope, I don't need to pay all that money. All right, song 4. Where are you? Should be right here. We're going to call this F 'em all. Like I said, I make up silly names for these so I can tell them one from the other. And then I'll name it later once I get the lyrics written. But these are songs that I've been working on over time that I wanted to try to put some lyrics and vocals to. And I gave it a try a while back. It wasn't working out, so I put them on hold. But I'm refreshing these with new ideas. It looks like we're missing a compressor on the vocal track. We don't care. And a compressor on the bass track. We do care. All right. Replacing old plugins with new plugins. Some stuff I got rid of over time. So it looks like we're going to need to do, we can just take the vocal compressor right out of here because I'm not going to use them anyway. That's the one. Let's get rid of it. That'll eliminate that message next time, and I'm not going to use those anyway. Now in the instrument track, looks like there's a compressor right here that's missing, so we're going to replace that. And let's see what this song sounds like first real quick. Because I don't even remember. Could be anything. But I came in like a son of a bitch. Alright, that one needs some drums. It looks like I have an old drum plug-in in here, so we're going to take it out of the synth rack. Excuse me. A little indigestion there. Addictive Drums 2. Mike picks up everything. Alright, going to get rid of that. Not delete the associated tracks. We're going to do that by hand, manually. And we'll put get rid of Addictive Drums 1 and put in Addictive Drums 2. Looks like we got a track here we don't need. Boy, this one starts in your face. I remember it now. These are the associated tracks to the MIDI track for the soft synth when I installed the soft synth. If I could talk, getting tired. Where's my drums at? Here's the MIDI track for the drums. You can actually see the notes for the drums right there. That's your kick, that's your snare, that's your hi-hat. And it looks like there's a couple of crashes here and there, but not too many. Alright, so let's go out and insert Addictive Drums 2. Once that loads, we'll put the audio track next to the MIDI track in the folder. And you'll see it show up in the synth rack here also. And there it is right there. And now here's the track that it creates automatically. And this is the audio track. So we're going to move it to the MIDI drums folder, which I created for this. And it goes right below the MIDI track. And now we have to tell this MIDI track to use it. So there's an input that you can use. Say you wanted to use your keyboard to punch drums in, or an electronic kit. That's where you would set your input. And we're going to set it to Addictive Drums 2. And hear what it sounds like. I'm going to turn this one down a little bit because it's pretty good in your face song. And let's hear it with the drums. Alright, kind of a metal song or a punk song. So we want the kicks to come through a little heavier. So once again, I'm going to go back here to Addictive Drums and put in some metal drums from our United Heavy selection. And something with the snap right here. We'll probably have to swap out the snare drum again, but let's listen to it first. Need something a little bit higher pitched, I think. Ooh, that's a lot better. Too high. Ah, the Ludwig Black Beauty fits pretty nice. Ooh, I like the Ludwig brass. I like that one even better, but it's a little bit low. We're going to bring it up some, if I have room to. Oh, let me go back. Have to clean the bass up a little bit and EQ the drum. The guitar tracks are taking up a little bit of the low end there. Okay, let's leave the drums for now. And we'll pack those away and work on the bass next and see if we can clean it up a little bit. It sounds like it's muddy enough to mix some. All right, MIDI drums. There we go. Get up on in there. Keep hitting the wrong buttons. There we go. All right, now we want to work on Mr. Bass. Let's see, it's probably a real bass track analog. Let's see what we got in here. Track sounds okay. Let's see if we can fatten her up a little bit. All right, there we go. Save some room there because we're going to fatten it up again. That's pretty fat. I'm going to let the bass take over the low end of this song and maybe put a low cut filter on the guitar tracks if I need to for it to come through better. let's see if we can get some of that low end out of the guitar track. I want to do that while the music's playing so I can hear the mix. So I'm going to create a little bit of a loop. While the guitar's playing, while both guitars are playing. There's 10 different ways to do this, but this is easy. You can also make a bus for these effects. If you're going to use the same effect on a lot of different tracks, you can just send them to one bus, one effect. But I got plenty of computer, so it's not really an issue. Sorry, I said computer and my Alexa woke up. But we don't really have to do that because it's not skipping audio or anything like that, so we don't have to save resources. So we're having the guitar cut through a little bit more without as much low end. So that'll clear up the muddy bass a little bit. Turn my mic off so I can really hear it. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. And we're about done for the day. Got a lot done today. These songs are waiting on lyrics and vocal recordings, and I'll have 4 songs towards my new record finished in maybe within a week or so. So I'll start to release them as I finish them, but I got to get creative and write some lyrics. See if anybody's talking. Looks like we've got nobody watching again, but they'll watch it later. All right. Let's do this. And we're going to save it the way it is. All right, guys, next time I'll hook up my camera so we can talk to each other better. Just real tired today. Everything's set up in the living room. I was working on a interview stream out there with 3 cameras, so I had to borrow one out of the studio. But I appreciate everybody watching, and if you have any questions, if you watched this live stream after the fact, I will still probably see your message and try to answer your questions if you have any. And other than that, Lauberland is open and running smooth as ever. So everybody have a good night.